competed in Sydney in 2000, in Athens in 2004, a couple of world championships thrown in there, Commonwealth Games. People and the amount of like the media that was at the swimming pool, for one. I remember very well walking out to my first race, which was a 200 IM, and that was on the first night. So those sorts of things were on track. That was okay. Something that I did struggle with and still struggle with a little bit is the inherent discrimination that we face. I have to be honest and say like 90% of it was wonderful.
Yeah.
But it's just that added. All they are is curious, and I don't mind that at all. I think it's a very good thing to have a teacher with a disability.
Yeah. So I'm slurping away anyway. So,
right.
But how's your week been?
It's Friday, isn't it?
It is.
It's been okay. A bit of teaching in there.
Yeah.
A lot of swimming in there.
Yeah. And how's the prep for? Well, because you were doing a lot. Where what was it? You said you were doing a lot more of the. No, I'm trying to think. It was para swimming, but it was with the.
There's just the
combined
schools.
Sport. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there's a few more days of that coming up. So
yeah.
I'm excited about that. That's been working well. That's exciting.
Yeah.
That feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done that again. Yeah, it's funny because, school, CIS, that's it. Yes, and all of that stuff, trying to make something happen, keep yourself going.
I think it's funny that it's sort of come a bit like full circle. So when I was at school and we had the swimming, they just didn't have any races for us. So I had a very, what should we say? I think I wrote a strongly worded email.
Yes.
To put it
mildly. Yeah.
And from that point they included para sports in all of, like, not all of the different sports, but the main sports.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from then on, so that's really nice to come back to it.
Yes. Yeah. And you were saying, because when we were chatting, you were saying, it's funny seeing all of your former coaches still there.
Yes.
Swimmers still there.
Oh my gosh, that was the other day at the pool, and Ben, he was a very good coach for me. Yeah. And I just heard him on the side of the pool, like starting some of the girls. Yeah. And it was that, like, gotcha. Whoa.
Did you want to jump? Would you like, oh my God, he's talking to me.
I've
got to go in. Yeah.
Yeah. And every time that buzzer went, when the swimming competition, like, it does sort of give you the twitch reflex.
Is that a nice feeling?
That's a good question. No, not really.
Oh.
No. It's more just like, that was your race. That was your like when you started.
Yes.
I don't know. I wouldn't say yes or no. I wouldn't say yes or no.
No.
Yeah. Just it was strange being back at the pool.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Oh, well,
there's a lot that happened out at that pool.
Yes.
That was. Yeah.
Well, what we should do, we should kick off our conversation, which is similar to what we're just doing anyway, to be honest. But I always forget, because I'm always chatting, like, do you know what? I should pause and say, Kate, welcome to the Second Wind Academy podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks
Happy
for
to be here.
Yeah. Well, look, it's good. It's good for us to actually get this going, because we've tried. We've had false starts. We've had coffees, and now we're making it happen. So it's great to have you here.
Thanks.
And look, we're just chatting about swimming, and we're chatting about your sense in the pool. And look, this show, really, we're going to get an understanding of how you have, I guess, continued to thrive in your life after sport, finding your second wind in life. And I
was going to put in like the third and the fourth and the fifth winds. It's up and down, but that's how life is, isn't it?
That's right. It is. And I think that's going to be such a fascinating story because of what you've done during swimming, but certainly after swimming, going overseas. You know, I think you described yourself as naturally finding challenges, I think, in life. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I think that's a nice way to put it.
Yeah.
What did my boss in the last school I worked in Denmark, she was like, "This could only ever happen to you." I think that's another way to put it.
Yes,
but,
that's right.
I'll go with it.
Yeah, I'm
interesting.
I'm sanitizing it. I'm making it so everyone goes, yes, yeah, that's right. But you search for challenges in order to, I don't know, just keep moving. But but I think just the journey that you are on is one that is certainly worth talking about here, because there are lots of people going to listen. I think feel inspired by it as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, Kate, what I should do is, for those who are listening and watching, is give us an introduction. Tell us who you are and what you're about.
Who I am and what I'm about. It's quite mixed. My sporting background, I was a para swimmer. Yeah. I still am. I
was going to say, you still are. We've just discussed that.
You
are allowed to keep swimming. Yes.
Not competitively, just for fun now. But I competed in Sydney in 2000, in Athens in 2004. A couple of world championships thrown in there, Commonwealth Games. No.
Several medals.
Tick those boxes. Yes, the medals, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Bronze medals, 2 bronze medals in Sydney, 2 in Athens. I say that very blasé, but no, that's what you work for, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Gold medals. I had 3 gold medals in world championships in 2002. That was probably my highlight, I guess.
Yeah, where you were at one with the water.
Yeah, just everything just flowed really well for that one. Yeah. So
yeah. And nowadays, I guess out of sport, more teaching, advocacy to some extent as well.
Yes, it's interesting that at the moment I was overseas for a long time teaching, which I loved, and suddenly back in Sydney, back in Australia, and I'm finding that life is sort of pulling me in a direction that I didn't really plan on or expect. I thought I would be teaching until, the kids have got, the kids I've taught have got grandkids I'm teaching, that sort of deal. But no, I'm sort of a lot more interested in the development of para sports and para swimming.
Yes.
Which I think is an amazing area to be a part of, especially with the lead up until 2028 and 32. Brisbane 32. Yeah,
and which actually, it does feel like this, we're coming back to where you were, where it started in many respects, because you, whilst you may not see that, but as you're coming through it now, it's bringing the swimming and the educational background and sort of bringing you back to the side of the pool again. Yeah,
I'm just as surprised as you sound. So, but it's a lovely area to be a part of, and I do think I have sort of built up those skills, not for that reason, but they just happen to be there, and I do think I can help in some ways, or use my skills for a good purpose. Yeah.
Well, why? I suppose, what is it that you think you can help to do?
Well, it is a tricky answer. I think when I was going through my swimming, it was tricky being a para swimmer. Things weren't always equal, to say it nicely.
Yeah.
There was a lot of discrimination. And I think I would really like to help those young swimmers know that they belong, that they are valued, that they are equal.
Yeah.
I think that would be a wonderful thing to be able to help those swimmers do. Not just swimmers, but in all sports. But swimming is my thing.
Yeah. And look, actually, I suppose let's go through your career as a way to sort of paint that picture, because I am really interested in speaking more about some of the changes that you want to bring in from, I'll use the word inclusive as a shortcut, but we'll come back round and talk about how that isn't always the best word to use, but we'll talk about what it is that.
I know.
but I'm very keen to understand sort of that side of things that you want to come into, and how you. But I think by going through your story, that will really help. So if everyone listening as well and watching understand why you probably can make that big impact. So
sure.
We're going to take it all the way back and just say, well, what was it that attracted you to swimming as you were growing up?
I don't think I had a lot of choice in the matter. My family were always very good swimmers. My uncle was in the Olympics in '64. My mum is a swimmer too. She still swims 2 kilometres every day. So we jumped in the pool with Mum, toddled along behind her, and then we did swimming club down at the rock pools in Sydney. Beautiful. But I think it wasn't so much as an attraction to swimming, it's just what I did and what I loved. I was always just bobbing up and down in the pool. And then the way I got into para swimming was, I actually didn't know anything about it. I didn't know it even existed. I just went with everybody else. It wasn't considered something different. I just got in. And I remember seeing, I think there were highlights, like this is at the back of the memory. Yeah. So 92 was in Barcelona, yeah. And there was like a 5-minute highlights at ABC, on the news, on one of the 3 channels, I think, And I remember sitting on the couch and I remember just going, oh, she's got the same hand as I do. I can do that. I want to do that. And then the next day we went up to the pool, or close to the next day. Yeah. And I jumped in with the squad there. Didn't have any trouble keeping up. And that's sort of where it went from. It's sort of small competitions, state competitions, and it just sort of snowballed into like, actually I'm doing pretty well with this. So yeah, continued.
And at that side, was that at that time, was it down the para route, or was it quite simply, well, I'm just swimming with everybody else?
A bit of both, to be honest. Like I did a lot of the competitions that were para specific. Yeah. And we were very lucky that those were available. Yeah. But there's only few and far between with those sorts of competitions. So I did really compete with everybody else. I trained with just the local swimming squad. Yeah. Yeah. And kept up.
Yeah. When did you start to realise, hey, I'm kind of good at this? It might take me somewhere.
I think it was quite gradual in the way that I remember going to a state competition. I was only like 11 or 12, I think. And this is when, my grandma's neighbours made me the parachute material tracksuit.
Yes.
It was lovely. In the blues. And I think I did break a lot of records. I think I won most of the things for my category, my classification. And I think those were the competitions where it's like, okay, I'm breaking records. Yeah. And then moved on to the next one. So nationals, did very well at nationals. And that sort of, like I said, it just sort of grew and grew and grew. I think, I don't know when my first international competition was. It must have been about 98 or so. Definitely 98 was World Championships in Christchurch. That was my first major event.
And so, well, before that, so coming through school, did you, what did you dream of achieving in Paralympic sport?
Definitely Paralympics. That was my, do you know, it might have even been like as soon as I saw that 92 highlights, and that was like, no, I'm doing that. Yeah. I'm doing that. That's it. There wasn't really any question about not doing it. That was it.
Making the Paralympics, competing there, being on that next 5 minute reel.
I'm so glad it has improved from 5 minutes.
Yes, yeah.
So a long way, but
and for you, so growing up, having that as the dream, swimming. I'm guessing you were swimming in squads, which means you were up at the crack of dawn.
Yes. Before the crack of dawn.
Before the crack of dawn,
we
yes.
were done by the time dawn came around. Like every other, not every other, but good swimmers around 10, 11 years old, 12 years old. I started doing about 4 sessions a week. So I don't think the crazy mornings were too intense then. It was more the end of school, sort of year 11, 12, 10, 11, 12 probably. And then onwards, they were the 10 sessions a week, 5 a.m. mornings.
Okay, yeah. Academically, where did that fit in for you as you were growing up?
I think I could safely say that I slept through a lot of my education. My poor mum.
Why do you say your poor mum?
We went to a private school, my sister and I did. My mum was a single parent and she was a primary school teacher. So it was a big ask to send both my sister and I to a private school. And poor mum also having to get up at 4:30 and where I would be like, don't talk to me, just give me my banana, don't talk to me. Yeah, so she just did it. Yeah. She did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for you then growing up, school was, you attended, you went...
very loosely attended. I did attend, but like I said, I was asleep.
You were there.
Things.
Yeah,
yes,
physically you were there. So then academically it wasn't necessarily something where you were thinking, great, I'm going on to be X, Y, Z. It was something you were more just getting through.
Yes, the focus was definitely on swimming.
Yeah.
I found it very hard to, like I said, to stay awake for one, to retain information. I think it's a little bit different nowadays, but I just know that I didn't have a very good sense of, like I'm academically capable.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was very smart while I was at school. Okay,
right.
Yeah.
How did that impact you, do you think?
I think I did have it in my brain that because I didn't get good results at school, that I wouldn't be able to go to university. I wouldn't be able to get a degree, get good marks, those sorts of things. But I think after school, after my swimming career had finished, I know we're jumping down the track a little bit, but when I was awake at university, I remember going, oh, wow, like I'm retaining information. I'm getting good grades. Like, oh, maybe I'm not that silly after all. So, yeah, it's a tough one for athletes, I think. I think they need to be quite kind to themselves, and I'm not sure if that's always there.
No, it probably isn't. I mean, because there's this focus, there's this singular goal at times, and I think it sounds like that for you was making that Paralympics is the goal, and other things might push to the side as a result. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think the timing wise of it as well. So I finished school in 99, so a long time ago, yes. But 99 obviously is, just before 2000. Yeah. So I remember having the choice of like, do I do my HSC over an extended period of time, so sort of account for the swimming, or do I just bust it out and then focus on the swimming, which is what I chose to do.
So you chose, so you could leave school at 18 effectively, get the exams done, and then be like, right, I'm in swimming, and excuse me, I mean, it's the Sydney Olympics as well, so it's a home Olympics. How, I suppose, a question on, for me now, the Paralympic setup at that time. So you had this dream of going to the Paralympics. In 2000, what was the Paralympics? I mean, how in Sydney, how special event was it set out to be compared to what it might have been in 92?
I think, I'm just trying to think, how do I answer this? It's I can go back to what it was like in 96 was in Atlanta, for example. I think I only sort of just missed the team.
Right.
And I was very young. So I was still a bit too young to go, and it was only a very small team that went. Yeah. I know a lot of people who were on the Paralympic team, And when they got there, everything had just been wiped clear because the same sponsors weren't the sponsors for the Paralympics as they were for the Olympics. So I think they found that quite difficult.
Right.
But Sydney was different, the way that they approached it. You could tell that it was a lot more getting to that sort of, that parity of...
Yes.
Yeah, that parallel, which is what it should be, parallel.
Yes.
Yeah. And we could feel that. Yes. And it was also very interesting because I know the Olympics were on right when I was sort of weeks away from competing as well, which was interesting because there's this massive buzz, huge buzz in Sydney. It was the whole thing was just like it was electric. It was this atmosphere. But I'm like, the synchronized swimmers are in my pool at home. How dare they get out of my pool? No, I say that negatively, but it was more just, you want to stay on track, you want to focus on yourself, but it was like there was a buzz.
I've never thought of that. So here you are in your prep for the Paralympics, especially in a home one. It means that you're swimming, you're feeling the buzz of the Olympics.
Yes.
A month ahead of when you are going to actually start. Yeah. And you had someone else in your pool, so you couldn't even prep properly. Yes,
poor synchronized swimming.
Yeah. Well, to me that's just interesting. I know. So here's me being selfish, thinking about myself. Gosh, I could now think what the implications of that are. But so for you though, I guess you're getting to see the buzz, feel what's happening in the Olympics ahead of you then going to the Paralympics. So as you then began your Paralympic journey 2000, how did that feel?
I was very focused on like day to day, getting through my sessions, checking the boxes, making sure I didn't get too carried away. So I'm trying to keep I think it's just trying to keep that focus for my own races. But we didn't really have a lot of preparation for how huge it was going to be. I think this is really one of the first times that the media attention was there for the para swimmers. And it, there was nothing really that could prepare you for that.
I think, how did it take you by surprise?
The sheer number of people and the amount of like the media that was at the swimming pool. For one, I remember very well walking out to my first race, which was a 200 IM, and that was on the first night. And as a side note, we had the opening ceremony the night before.
Yes.
Right? We were on our feet for a very long time. And being the last team to come out, the stadium was packed. It still gives me shivers. Kylie was playing, love Kylie. And we were just dancing our socks off. And it's one of those things, it's like, what do you do? Do you go opening ceremony at your home Paralympics and then hope for the best the next day? Or there's no or, sorry, but there wasn't an or.
Well, it's almost, do you skip this opportunity to be, like you say, at the Olympic stadium, home stadium? Home stadium.
So Athens, 4 years later, I didn't go to the opening ceremony. But Sydney, it was just one of those things. I ended up coming fourth in my first race, which was a very hard pill to swallow. And that, I do think about that regularly. Was that because I was dancing my socks off at the opening ceremony? But that's how it was. That's how it was. I wouldn't have missed it for anything. Not for anything.
Well, that's it.
So I think I've gone off on tangents there. But
it's a good trade-off, isn't it? I think, well, here it is. These are the experiences of life. And one of the challenges as an elite athlete is, what do you sacrifice? What do you intentionally miss out on for the sake of your sporting achievement? There, perhaps without realizing it at the time, but you made that decision, which was, I'm going out in the Olympic Stadium. I'm going to enjoy this at home.
Yeah. There was something about it that there's no way I was going to miss it.
Yeah.
No way. I do, and I think what I was getting to is like I do remember walking out for my first race.
Yes.
And the stadium, like you couldn't see the top of the stands. You couldn't see because it was just so high.
Yeah.
And this is a pool that I had done training at. You know, I knew that pool very, very well, but put all of that around it, and it's completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, thinking about the games, obviously it was a wonderful experience for you, you know, from a sporting perspective. I'm interested in coming out of that games, because you went to the games really young, right? So you were pretty much jumping from school, training, games, off you go. Coming out of that, isn't that school structure anymore. Things are different. What was that life like for you as you came out, certainly of the Sydney Olympics?
It was bizarre, to be honest. I mean, there was a period of time where I had a break from, not long, but a break. And I remember sitting up in the stands of our swimming pool and just going, what do I do now? And it's just like, it's like the floor had gone out from underneath you. It's like I knew I was still going to swim, but the next Paralympics is 4 years away. And yes, there are things in the middle, but it was just like, wow. So you just didn't realise that everything you did was built up for that one event. Yeah. Everything. And then all of a sudden it's not there. So it was a bizarre feeling of just lack of, I don't know, like treading water maybe, but without water.
So what did you do?
What did I do? To be honest, I remember the feeling, but I don't really remember what I did. I know I had a break. Yeah.
What do you mean by feeling? What was the feeling?
I just of not knowing. No, it was not knowing, but because I knew I was going to swim. It was more that not having that intensity of I'm training for the Paralympics every single day, day in, day out. That's it. And it was sort of regrouping, I think, would be the best way to say it. Yeah. But it did take a little while. It did take a little while.
How do you think you found... How did you regroup?
How did I regroup? I think the support around, probably. Again, I didn't have school either, so I think I did a couple of things that, a couple of small courses just to sort of fill in the time. I was teaching swimming as well, so just sort of did things that I could do around my training as well. I think it's just little bit by little bit, and then slowly you bring in what competition is next. Right. Nationals are next. Sitting down with your coach, having a plan up to World Championships was in 2002. So it's kind of like, right, let's sit down, let's make a plan. But yes, I did have some very good support at that time. Yeah. Thank goodness.
Well, yes, thank goodness. Because, I suppose if you didn't have that support, what would you have done?
I think I would have been maybe I would have just jumped straight back into training, because that's what you hold on to. That's what you know. Maybe that's what would have happened, but I don't necessarily think that that's a great idea after. You do need a break after something that is that major. That intense.
Because it is an emotional...
Hugely emotional. I burst into tears walking out for my first event. I did not hold it together. No, we had no training for these things either. They've got some really good sports psychologists now, but we really didn't have those sorts of things on our team. No.
So we talk about after the Olympics or Paralympics, and planning taking a break, regrouping, coming back together. Outside of swimming, what was the passion? What was the dreams? What dreams did you have outside of swimming?
Oh, that's a hard one as well. I don't know if there was much outside of it at that time, to be honest. I was teaching swimming, and I found that I was good at teaching swimming, but that's a lot of hours in the water.
Yeah.
That's a lot of time in the water, but I enjoyed it. I was good at it. But I think my focus was always on the next event, the next nationals, the next major international time. That's kind of what my focus was until 2004.
Right.
I'm not sure if that sort of answers it. But
it answers it, because that's what you were. That's what you were doing. That's what you were thinking about.
Yeah, I didn't think of studying at the time. I think I do remember. I did get into university, but for an arts degree, which I didn't end up doing, and it was just a bit of study-wise. I didn't really know what I wanted to do at that point. Yeah,
you found comfort in swimming and teaching swimming. And being in and around the pool.
Yeah, I think I did a lot of, well, not a lot, but little bits of work around swimming, whatever I could do in, like with childcare as well, and that sort of led me to know that I was pretty good with kids.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So all little bits.
Yeah, these little things. It's that exploration, because you're teaching children. Well, actually, I've assumed you were teaching children mostly in the swim.
Little ones. Yeah.
You're teaching these little ones, which is clearly gave you a sense of enjoyment to educate, to help those little ones learn. You're doing then childcare, so there's a theme bubbling away.
There was, and I didn't really realise that's what was. I just sort of was like, all right, I've got to do some work.
Yes,
may as well stay in the pool for another 3-4 hours.
Yeah, I mean,
it was a lot of water. Well, there was a lot in the water.
Yeah, I was going to say, at that, when you think about that period, those in between the Olympic period, the training, the sort of training, the teaching, things like that. What was the? It's a lot of time to be in the water.
Oh yeah, my feet were disgusting.
Okay, I guess that was one of the worst parts of it. Luckily, I think we're recording, mid-length up, so we should be okay. But what I would say then is so. No, actually, I've forgotten where I was going. I forgot I was. I'm thinking of your feet now, so I'm like, never mind. No,
don't. No.
That's it. Fully distracted. No, it's good. It's good. We won't pan the cameras down. But I guess I'm trying to think what was the hardest thing for you at that time?
The hardest thing, like life-wise, or swimming career-wise, or
well, I guess
like
it's managing that together. It's you preparing. You've come off your first Paralympics, prepping for your world champs or nationals, world champs, having to work or doing work at the same time. What did you struggle with most during that time?
Well, I think that I had my training down pat, so that was good. I was getting a bit of an income just because I was doing some work around it. So those sorts of things were on track. That was okay. Something that I did struggle with and still struggle with a little bit is the inherent discrimination that we faced during the whole swimming career. Like we always felt, I shouldn't say that. I always sort of felt that we had to fight for to be valued. Yeah. To be seen as parallel. And it is still an ongoing. I shouldn't say fight, but it is something we
it's a struggle.
Work. Yeah, it is a struggle.
And so when you talk about getting that sort of parity, I'm just trying to understand how granular is this parity in time in the pool, parity to have access to the pool, to be able to even get into the pool. I mean, no,
that was all. I trained with a squad, the local squad. That was a very good squad. We had a couple of Olympians there, so that was my community. That was fine. That was all good. It's more the public perception.
Right.
You know, I think a good example is something I get very often is when people are say, "Oh, you went to the Olympics." I'm like, "No, I went to the Paralympics." And they're like, "Don't downplay it," or you know, "Oh, they're the same thing." And I was like, "Oh, it's really not downplaying it. It's I'm very proud of being a Paralympian."
Yeah.
And I think that sort of shows that it's an ongoing.
Yes.
It's an ongoing thing that I really, really would like to help. I don't know a better way to say it. I'd like to have some influence.
Yeah, and I guess changing that perspective.
Yeah,
There's a public perspective that by saying Paralympics, it makes it a lesser event or spectacle than the Olympics.
Yeah, that's right. And I think so. And so I do so intentionally correct people. I don't feel very comfortable correcting, but I do intentionally correct now, just because I'm like, no, I would like it to be
known as the
that's
Paralympics.
something simple that I can do, you know. But I think throughout my swimming career, especially Commonwealth Games in 2002 was quite difficult for me, actually.
Yeah.
There was a lot of discrimination on that team. I don't know if I'm able to say that, but that's how it was for me.
We're talking about your perspective and how you felt during that time. So
that was quite hard.
Yeah.
That time was quite hard to deal with that.
What was it you had to? What made it hard to deal with?
I think I didn't feel like we were very welcome on the team. Like our names were left off the handbooks for the team, and you know, and things like that. And it was the first time that athletes with disabilities were included as a complete part, not just as an exhibition event.
Yeah.
So that was great to be a part of it. Like I'm very proud of like being on that first team that was a part of it. But the experience was not my favourite. No.
I mean, because you've grown up, you've competed during that shift, during that recognition from a 5-minute show reel to, well, reasonably equitable television
which
time.
Is wonderful. Like, don't get me wrong, it is wonderful to see.
Yeah.
But I have had to go through those years of, you know.
And that's something, you know, I think for many of the athletes that I speak with on here, that type of discrimination or parity hasn't come up. And so for you as an athlete, for you as for you as a person, what you're having to go through is finding balance in life, everyday life, but then also dealing with a sport type where it's not as welcomed, or at least it doesn't seem to be as welcomed.
There was like, I have to be honest and say like 90% of it was wonderful. Yeah. But it's just that added layer of feeling like we're like, oh, here we go again. You know. Yeah. You know, the comments like, aren't you good for having a go? And you know, that's what the Paralympics is about, having a go. Like, my ass, it's about having a go. Like, I'm in there to win, same as every other Olympian. You know, I'm having a go. Sorry, it sort of makes me giggle, but it's like, it is quite serious.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it is. Yeah. I love the competitive edge coming out here. It's like,
I know.
I'm not having a go. I'm winning. That's about it.
For sure. We wouldn't say it to an Olympian. Don't say it to a Paralympian.
No. And I think that competitive edge still comes out in you now.
It does sneak out,
Yes, I think, one of our friends, when swimming with you, is that seem about right? Yes.
Yeah, we went the morning swim through the waves, and I still get a bit nervous with the big waves, but I was like, oh, you know, can you stay with me? Yeah. Just to get out through the big surf. And then I think I just went. And
then you went, you just left him to deal with the waves, and you went. Like,
where'd you go? I do like my ocean swimming now, so I do. I do feel like sometimes in those races I do get a little bit competitive, and I like being able to catch up to the person in front of me. And
so
that's fun.
And so look, from thinking about then for you your swimming career. When did you start to realise this is it? I'm going to be done for swimming.
I don't know. I can't pinpoint the exact time. I know. So 2002 World Championships was really like the pinnacle. Like that was, everything flowed beautifully. I competed like very well, and our team did as well. It was just fun. It was wonderful and fun. 2003, I remember getting a fair few illnesses. Like my body started to show signs of wear and tear, you know, at the ripe old age of 22, 23, like, you know, shoulders crap out. And I just had a few things that were sort of niggling. And I think at that point I was like, right, 2004, I have what I want to do. I wanted to medal. And then I was like, no, that's it. I'm done after that. So I don't know if it was like a specific point in time, but 2003 was tricky in just dealing with medical things. And
so what 2004, you'd set your mind, okay, you're gonna,
no pressure,
I'm gonna medal,
and
then I'm gonna retire.
That's it. Yep, that was it.
And well, so as you were in that final race and were coming up to the, okay, maybe you didn't think about it as you came up to the wall.
I think I did.
Oh.
Maybe not my 100 butterfly, but I think the final race I did.
Yes,
I actually do remember hitting the wall and just going, I never want to do a 100-meter butterfly in my life again.
Wow. Okay.
You know what I mean? It was just like, and then after that race, that last race I did, I honestly remember this feeling of my body just going, well, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
You are done.
Yeah.
You know, it is very physically and mentally taxing.
Yes.
Very. Yeah. And I just didn't have that motivation or the strength to. It's not that, I just knew I was done. Yeah. And I think I was really fortunate to be able to go, this is what I want to do. I did it. And then I stopped. And I'm really happy with that. I was very fortunate that I was able to do that. Yeah.
And what was next? What had you planned to be next?
One, I did not want to look at a swimming pool for an extended period of time, which I did not. But I knew I wanted to do something in teaching by that point.
Right.
So I don't think I was quite up to, I think I'd missed the intake for that university year, and I moved up to Brisbane at that point in time. Yeah. So I did a diploma so I could work in a childcare centre with the preschoolers. And I remember doing that and being like, oh, this isn't quite enough. And that's when I intended to go to uni, but I just knew that there was other things that teaching was where I was going to.
Right,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was it, what do you think it was at that time that drew you to teaching?
Well, I'd done a lot of swimming teaching.
That's right.
By that point.
You could have gone into swimming teaching full time, or
again, I did not want to see a pool.
Okay,
that was probably one of the motivators with that one.
That was it. Okay,
I wanted to do something away from it.
Yeah,
that's for sure. I loved education. I loved child development, like learning about all that area. So that's sort of what drew me to teaching, and it was just I just knew it was the right thing, and I think I do think athletes have got pretty good intuition. Okay. And I think athletes are pretty good at listening to their intuition. I think that's just something I was able to do.
What do you mean by intuition?
I think as an athlete, you have to be able to listen to your body. You know that I'm going to this competition. This is where I'm heading towards. Yes, it's a goal, but it's also like an intrinsic knowing of this is what is right for me. You don't have to stop and go, should I be a swimmer, or should I do this, or should I do this? It's just, you know it. Head to toes, like you know it. Same sort of deal with teaching. That's sort of what I felt, is that that's what I was.
Okay. You felt natural. You were in a flow. I guess in the pool you have a flow, and so I'm putting words into your mouth, but it's in teaching, or at least with children there, you felt a similar thing.
I tried to do a little bit of speaking. Adults terrified with speaking in front of, but kids I was fine. You know, that sort of was a pretty good indicator. Can wrangle a 100 kids or so,
Well, that's
but
harder
adults,
than
no
adults.
thanks.
Yeah, that's harder.
Yeah.
Okay, see, you look for the challenge. Yeah, you find the children. I'll do them.
They believe anything though, the kids, not the adults. Yeah.
So where to next? I mean, so you knew there was this education. You started a diploma. You were doing some teaching, educating. What was next?
Teaching, real world.
Yeah.
You know, I was very, again, fortunate to land at a beautiful school in Brisbane.
Yeah.
Very philosophy based. I just found it very interesting. I did well at uni, so I was awake, which helped a lot.
Yeah. So, well, actually, on the uni thing, do you feel you could have done university whilst being a competitive swimmer?
Me, no. I'm just a person that I needed to focus on one thing at a time. I know that there are a lot of athletes who are very good at segmenting and, you know, this is where I do this study, this is where I do this, and some of them have been very successful with that. But it's not how I worked. I needed to focus on my swimming, and then afterwards I could focus on my uni. And I loved it. I loved learning. I found that, you know, like I said, I could retain information. I could listen, and you know.
Yeah. And so, where did you hope your degree in the teaching would take you?
I think at that point in my life, I was just, I was very, very content to find a school that I felt very at home in.
Okay.
It was a very little hippie school. Hippie, I should say. It was a state school, but it was a wonderful school. But I sort of had this, also the pull during that time. Actually, I think I've been teaching for a few years at that point.
Yeah.
And I wanted to travel. I went over for a 2-week stint in Scotland and Ireland, I think. And I was like, oh, look at me travelling by myself in a group tour. So, you know, when you're swimming, when you're competing, you do travel, but really you don't focus on your surroundings. Your brain is focused on what you're there to do, which is compete. Yeah. So I wanted to go back over and just discover the world a bit more, and I loved it, and that's what I realised, like, right, I need to spend more time doing this, and I've got zero regrets. I ended up living and working, teaching overseas for a very long time.
Yes. And how did that come about? How did you, like you said, you want to travel, great, you travelled.
Quite incidentally.
Tell me about that.
Just, you know, there's these things that happen in my life. I went over with my overly packed suitcase.
Yes.
I was going to live with my sister in Paris and, you know, mosey on over to wherever I felt like going and just have some time to see the world. And I remember being over there and having this feeling like I'm being a tourist, but I'm not living, I'm not really sort of getting into the life of living overseas. And it just happened to be that the government, Queensland government education system, they wanted me to do my rural service. So they were kind of like sent me a letter saying, you're not going back to your beautiful little school. We're going to pick you up and put you in the middle of nowhere. And I was just like, that's not for me. I don't want to do that. I think it's a great thing to do, but for me at that point in time, I didn't want to. And that's when I started looking for jobs. Actually had with this like few months. I remember just going, I don't know what I'm going to do. But I had the chance to really go and travel and not really think about it too much. But then I discovered the world of international teaching, and it was quite a philosophy-based curriculum, which really sort of spoke to me.
And so from, it's interesting. So you, for one, heading overseas, I guess you had your sister in Paris that gave you a bit of a base to
that was
to jump.
Wonderful.
And you could
very grateful
you could do
for that.
And then ultimately you were able to find work teaching in where were you first? Which
Germany. I was in Düsseldorf.
In Düsseldorf, and you
very
found
funny little school.
But
it was wonderful, just wonderful. And I still think travelling is one of the best things that we can do to open our eyes to just other ways of living the world, being independent.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's right. And so for you at that time, was that it? Were you like, right, I am teaching, I'm an international teacher in Europe, off I go, that's it, I'm set for, well, I'll say for life. Was that the kind of the idea?
For that point in time, I've never been very good at having like long-term plans, because every time I've set those long-term plans, the universe has kind of gone, that's very funny, this is what you're doing instead.
Yes.
So I loved that teaching at that time over there. It was also very much away from swimming life here. I don't want to say it was like escaping, but I was anonymous over there.
Yeah.
Sort of like, now I look back at it and I'm like, well, a little bit. I think it has a part to do with it. I was anonymous, completely anonymous, you know. We know what Sydney's like, and especially, you know, northern beaches here. You can't really walk around too far without knowing anyone. But yeah, I loved the anonymity. I liked discovering the world. You know, I could go anywhere with a backpack and didn't know where I was going to end up. It was great.
Did you? When did you look at? Did you swim whilst you were there, or? I know you then went to. Were you in Denmark? Was it Denmark? Or
Germany for about 8 years, and then Denmark for about 3 years. There were pools around. They're funny. Quite different to what we're used to here. All over the shop.
What do you
There's
mean
no
the
German
pools are
efficiency
different?
over there.
Yeah. What do you mean the pools are different?
Yeah.
They're not all saltwater pools or
It's
rock
just,
pools.
I was living in Munich, which was a beautiful place. So we had the Olympic pool there, which was beautiful. So it was packed.
Yeah.
But a sports swimmer over there is quite different to an Australian sports swimmer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Wonderful experiences. Like I loved it. I have to say, I loved it. Yep.
And so whilst you were, this shift, your second wind effectively is this teaching overseas. Education, I suppose, really is that passion. It's something, I know as we've spoke about, is you were loving it. It was something that was set for you. From we speak about parity. So when you were a para swimmer, you were given, you're swimming, you're a para swimmer. But there was this sense of you were able to compete, and you had this competitive life. As an educator, I don't think we have para educators and, I don't know, fully able-bodied. I don't know the phrases.
Anymore.
To what extent did you face, I don't know, the children have discrimination towards their teachers?
Oh man, the stories we could tell about the children, like they are just so open and curious.
Yes.
And being in one school for a long period of time, the kids, all they are is curious, and I don't mind that at all. I think it's a very good thing to have a teacher with a disability.
How so?
I think that I'm able to help the kids know that just being who they are is wonderful. And we had very, very different classes. We had very mixed classes with all different sorts of abilities in there. And that's something I do love about teaching, is that I know that the kids in my class, they loved being themselves. Things like they would say, it was so funny. They would be like, but you're a very good clock, Miss Bailey. And okay, like the way that I do, because I get them to tell the time, because I've got a little arm and a big arm. So I pretend to do the clock, and that's how we learn how to do the clock.
I like that.
Yeah. They do love that. They would fight over who got to hold my little arm, and they'd have tantrums with their parents because they wanted to have the same hand as me. It's like, well, you can't really. No, you're great how you are.
Yes. Funny.
It was a beautiful world, to be honest. They sort of get their questions over and done with. In the first 5 minutes, and that's about it. That's what I love about children. They go, okay, well, that's that's my teacher.
That's right.
That's it.
It's
they
another
don't see
normal.
me as that's it.
Yeah. And so for you then, that period of life, because here we are chatting in Sydney, not in Europe. So for you, that I guess that came to an end. How planned was it for you then to look at that period of your life and say, oh, right, was it a touch the wall moment, I'm out, or was it different? It
was a hard one. It's probably one of the hardest things that I've had to deal with in the last years. You know, I do have to take accountability as well. It was just a very silly visa issue. I was very happy. Like, I was starting to do open water swimming over there, open water swimming.
Open water swimming in Denmark?
Yeah, it was cold.
Okay.
Beautiful. Like, it was beautiful.
Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah, it was a lovely little community.
Yes.
I enjoyed it. And I had a nice apartment. I had great school, great set of friends. Just ticked those boxes again. And wonderful. It was just literally one day to the next of you've got to get out of the country. There's a problem with your visa. And that was a hard one, because I couldn't go back to my beautiful life that
Danish, to that life that you built.
The Danish hyggelige world.
Yeah.
You know.
And so how was that feeling for you?
Just shattering, absolutely shattering. And I still struggle with it sometimes, because it's I was just very happy with the teaching over there. You know, like I said, ticked the boxes. I've sort of come to the point where I'm like, there's a lot of positives being back here. It's not really what I intended. I still have a storage container in Denmark with some really nice Danish furniture in there. But I'm seeing the positives here, and trying to go with the intuition again. So going back to that one. And seeing where I can make some positive impact, I think.
And so coming back into Sydney, and I know you're doing little bits of teaching and things, but so what is, coming back to this sort of full circle, back to the swimming pools where your old coaches were, and we're talking about the I don't know what you'd call it, hearing your old coaches.
Doing the starting at the pool last week, far out.
You're back. You're
unintentionally diving into the pool, fully clothed. No. Sorry. Yeah.
But so being back, what is it that you're enjoying? What are those aspects of your, like you say, you're looking at the positives. What are those aspects of your career, your lifestyle today that you're thinking, there's an avenue that I can continue. I want to push a little bit further.
I think one part is the open water swimming. I was never an open water swimmer here. I was a pool swimmer. Right. But that community is a very beautiful community. So that's something I've been able to sort of, I don't know, wheedle my way into. I shouldn't say that, but
become part of.
Become a part of.
Yeah, well, I guess it's a welcoming community.
It is.
You've been welcomed into it.
Yeah. That part's been wonderful, but I think I don't even know how I got back into the school sports side of it. But there was an award ceremony, and there is an award that's named after me.
Oh,
I know.
What's the Kate Bailey?
Oh
award?
gosh,
I don't know
why I feel
Bailey?
so. It's I feel really weird talking about it, but it was. It's in the independent school system where it's just the athlete with the athlete of the year with a disability, which is lovely. It's a lovely thing to be a part of. And I went to the award ceremony and I was talking to some of the staff there, and they said, actually, we need somebody on board that has a bit of knowledge about the multi-class area. And I was like, ooh, I would really like to do that. So not too much there at the moment, but I'm really hoping it'll grow, and that's where I feel the most that pull towards and that most excitement, because it's a nice thing to do. It's a good thing to do, I should say.
Yes,
I think. Yeah, it feels good.
Well, it doesn't. Well, it sounds great. I mean, obviously the the Kate Bailey Award itself sounds fantastic. I'm sure you're the first person I've had on here who's got an award named after them. All the other guests are now going to be messaging me saying, "No, you never asked me about that."
Yeah, it's just you know, I am proud of it, but it's not a huge thing.
Kate, it's a big thing. I will say it. I think, you know, I'll take that as humility. That's a wonderful thing. And I think,
thank you.
But look, for those, I mean, how does it feel? And I'm not sure what my question is, but I'm thinking of, you've got, did you say multidiscipline? Did you say
multi-class?
Multi-class. So you said multi-class. Yeah. I'm playing with words here live, so we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
but
that's okay.
think of a multi-class athlete who is being recognised as the athlete of the year, winning your award, right? So they're striving not to be you, but you've sort of set a North Star for them to achieve. How does that feel for you? It was a little emotional, to be honest, because I went to the pool to watch, or not to watch, to be a team manager, I guess, for the multi-class swimmers. Yeah. And it was quite emotional seeing how far it's developed, seeing how many athletes there are, how many swimmers with disabilities there are that are involved, which is just wonderful. And seeing how much they are just a part of it. It wasn't, you know, swimming when the credits were rolling anymore. It was it was getting so much closer to that parity that I was talking about, which is it's very special. It's very, I don't even like the word special, to be honest. It's I don't know. I can't really even think of the word for it. Just it was a beautiful moment. Yeah. And certainly memorable with that as well. Yeah. And which I think is great, because we talk about your impact, and I suppose I'm curious, because we're at this point now in your life, you're at this inflection point where you're recognising, okay, the power swimming, I don't know. I still reckon there's an age group power swimming coming in here somewhere, but the competitive swimming is parked for now. You've got this educational career, teaching, you know, coming out, and sort of moving into this next phase, which is sort of pulling these bits together. And I think the impact you're already having is, again, you've got people striving already, and now you're thinking, how can you best?
Well, that's it. It's sort of still in the works at the moment. So I'm sort of got my feelers out, ears out for what I can do to have some impact in that area. Yeah. And it's going slowly, and I'm happy with what I'm doing right now. But I think there's a lot more to do. Yeah, and that part's exciting. That is. It's really exciting, and I think, you know, be it on driving the investment in the right places, and, you know, helping individual. I think that could be. I think that could be wonderful. Yeah. I think there's a lot to do in the development of para swimming. At like grassroots sort of level. So. Yeah. And look, I'm sure there are people watching and listening who are thinking, yes, I'd like to be a part of that, and we'll have to put your contact details or whatever in the show notes, so people can pester you and try and be part of it. Yeah, I think it's also important to say that there are a lot of like the grassroots organisation that do a lot of work for developing athletes. Wheelchair Sports New South Wales, for example, and there's a lot of other organisations that do a lot of work to help athletes and swimmers have that space. Yes. Yeah. Which is good. It's good, and I think what we can do to help broaden that space, or at least make that space more visible, is certainly a positive. Well, look, Kate, I guess kind of my final questions really are, I suppose, are for those swimmers, maybe not just swimmers, but for those who certainly dream of, or going through that dream of, they probably saw you as one of the show reels in terms of para swimming. So that would be a nice thought. Yeah. When you think about them coming through their ranks, what advice or guidance would you give to them to
to explore things or do things that might help them figure out what will they do out of the pool?
I have thought about this. So there's a few things that I would sort of say. I think one would be the education side of it. When you're at school, be kind to yourself. Parents as well, you know. We need to have a lot of self-kindness, knowing that even if you don't get the results at school, you know, because your focus is somewhere else, that's all. It does not mean that you cannot do what you want to do at any point in time. I think it is a hard ask having, you know, 2 hours before school, 2 hours after school of training, and not just training, but like all in for every session. So I think a bit of kindness to yourself there would be good. I think travel is a big one. I would always recommend travelling and seeing the world. I think that broadens your perspectives, opens your eyes a lot. And I think following your intuition, I think listening to your heart, that would be my 3 things.
3 things: education, travel, listen to your heart. I think
Yeah.
those are 3 very powerful things, Kate.
I hope so. Yeah.
Well, look, I really want to say thank you for coming in today and having this conversation. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Great.